Japanese hot springs, or onsen, have been cherished for centuries as sacred spaces for relaxation and purification. Traditionally, these geothermal baths were places where people could reconnect with nature and cleanse both body and mind. The mineral-rich waters were believed to have healing properties, treating ailments from muscle pain to skin conditions. Onsen were deeply tied to Shinto practices, symbolizing purity and renewal. Visitors followed strict etiquette, emphasizing respect and tranquility. This cultural heritage remains a cornerstone of Japan's identity, offering a serene escape from modern life. In the 20th century, Japan's onsen began transforming into commercialized tourist attractions. Towns built sprawling resorts around natural springs, catering to domestic and international visitors. While this boosted local economies, it also diluted the spiritual essence of onsen. Flashy advertisements and crowded facilities replaced the quiet solitude of traditional baths. Many onsen prioritized profit over preservation, adding artificial features like water slides or themed decor. This shift marked the beginning of a cultural disconnect, where the original purpose of onsen was overshadowed by entertainment and revenue. As onsen grew more popular, a darker trend emerged: the installation of hidden cameras. Predators exploited the communal bathing culture to secretly film unsuspecting guests. These devices were often disguised as everyday objects like shampoo bottles or ventilation grates. Victims had no way of knowing they were being recorded, and the footage frequently ended up on illicit websites. Despite being illegal, this practice persisted due to lax enforcement and high demand. The violation of privacy turned sacred spaces into zones of fear and distrust. Beyond hidden cameras, some onsen became stages for direct voyeurism. Peeping toms lurked outside windows or fences, leering at bathers. Certain establishments even catered to this behavior, with poorly designed partitions or accidental sightlines. The line between curiosity and exploitation blurred, as voyeurs justified their actions as cultural interest. Women and foreigners were particularly targeted, facing harassment and objectification. This toxic environment drove many away from onsen altogether, further eroding the tradition's integrity. The voyeuristic appeal of onsen was amplified by media exploitation. Tabloids and adult magazines featured unauthorized photos of bathers, often taken without consent. TV shows and movies sensationalized onsen scenes, reinforcing the idea that they were spaces for titillation rather than relaxation. This portrayal normalized the objectification of onsen goers, especially women. Even innocent travel documentaries sometimes crossed ethical lines, focusing on nudity rather than cultural significance. The media's role perpetuated harmful stereotypes and encouraged real-world misconduct. For those targeted by onsen voyeurism, the emotional toll was devastating. Victims reported feelings of shame, anxiety, and violation long after the incidents. Many feared public exposure or blackmail, while others blamed themselves for not being careful enough. Support groups emerged, but stigma kept many cases unreported. Legal recourse was rare, as police often dismissed complaints or cited lack of evidence. The psychological scars ran deep, turning what should have been healing experiences into sources of trauma. Japan's laws against voyeurism were notoriously weak, with penalties rarely matching the severity of the crimes. Offenders often received minor fines or short suspensions, even for repeat violations. Prosecution required clear evidence, which was difficult to obtain without advanced technical skills. Many victims chose not to press charges due to the arduous legal process and social stigma. Meanwhile, loopholes allowed exploiters to operate with impunity, selling footage under the guise of art or research. The system failed to protect the very people it was meant to serve. Over time, onsen voyeurism became disturbingly normalized in certain circles. Online forums joked about onsen hunting, sharing tips for evading detection. Some businesses turned a blind eye, fearing bad publicity or lost revenue. Younger generations, exposed to sexualized media portrayals, began viewing voyeurism as a harmless prank rather than a crime. This cultural apathy allowed the problem to fester, with fewer people speaking out against it. The line between right and wrong blurred, leaving traditions vulnerable to further degradation. In recent years, activists and victims have pushed back against onsen voyeurism. Campaigns like Privacy Matters raised awareness through protests and social media. Some onsens installed better security, like gender-segregated baths or anti-camera detectors. Lawmakers proposed stricter penalties, though progress was slow. Women's groups created safe spaces for sharing stories and legal advice. While the fight was uphill, these efforts marked a turning point, a demand to reclaim onsen as places of dignity, not exploitation. The cumulative damage of voyeurism and commercialization has left many onsen in decline. Once thriving resorts now stand empty, their reputations tarnished by scandal. Younger Japanese, wary of privacy risks, prefer private baths or overseas travel. Foreign tourists, once drawn to the exotic allure of onsen, are increasingly discouraged by safety concerns. The loss extends beyond economics. It's a cultural erosion, where a centuries-old practice risks becoming a cautionary tale. The question remains, can onsen reclaim their purity, or is the damage irreversible?